A lonely college dropout has been secretly following the same girl home from a convenience store for an entire year. Then one morning, he wakes up, and he is her.
She wakes up with a start, still half asleep, fumbling for her glasses in the morning dark. Something feels off before she even opens her eyes. The room is too neat, too quiet, too not hers. She sits up in a stranger's bed surrounded by stuffed bears and soft curtains, and the first question that hits her isn't, "Where am I?" It's, "Who am I?" The face looking back from the mirror has never looked at herself like that before. Wide eyes, long dark hair, a girl's body she doesn't recognize as her own. She can see clearly, no glasses, no blurry edges, and that alone is enough to send a slow wave of panic crawling up her spine. She screams. It comes out loud and ragged, echoing off the walls of a bedroom that belongs to someone else. Outside the door, a woman's voice snaps at her to hurry up or she'll be late, and the ordinary brutality of that moment makes the whole thing feel horrifyingly real. This is not a dream. Meanwhile, somewhere across the city in a filthy apartment full of garbage bags, a young man in glasses wakes up to the same phone ringing. It always rings. His mother checking in. He tells her university's going fine. That is a lie. He hasn't attended in 3 years. His name is Komori Isao, college student on paper, total shut-in in practice. 3 years in Tokyo, and he doesn't have a single friend, just a gaming controller and time stretching out in front of him like a punishment. He knows it's bad. He just doesn't know how to stop. But there was one thing, one tiny thread tethering him to the outside world. Every night, around 9 o'clock, a girl would appear at the convenience store near his apartment. He doesn't know her name. He doesn't know her voice. He just knows her routine. Chocolate, a drink, always alone, always calm. He started following her home, summer, winter, through alleys and quiet streets, always keeping his distance. He told himself it was harmless, just something to feel, just a reason to leave the apartment, just a way to forget about everything else for a little while. He knew it was wrong. He knew it, and he kept doing it anyway. And the girl he was following, the convenience store angel, as he called her in his head, her name, he would eventually learn, was Yoshizaki Mari. And then one morning, Komori Isao woke up inside her body. He is staring at a student ID card. The name reads Yoshizaki Mari, second year of high school. The photo is the girl he's been watching from shadows for a year. The address is the house he's been standing outside at night, and he is inside her, wearing her face, breathing her air, living her morning. The family downstairs doesn't notice anything wrong. A father in glasses reading the paper, a younger brother named Shinji, a mother who runs the house with short-cropped efficiency. They all say good morning to Mari like it's nothing, and Komori, trapped in her body, can barely manage to speak at all. The first real crisis hits in the bathroom. He doesn't know where the toilet is. He apologizes and asks her family, who stare at him with a mixture of confusion and mild concern. He plays it off. He gets dressed. He handles it. But handling it means actually getting dressed in Mari's clothes, and that particular horror arrives in full. He pulls out a bra from the drawer and stares at it for a long time. He puts it on. He gets through it. He tells himself this is unavoidable and just keeps moving forward, one humiliating step at a time, because what else is there to do? There's a school uniform. There's a girl named Sachi, Mari's best friend, waiting outside to walk to school together. She's short-haired, cheerful, and dangerously observant. And Komori has approximately zero experience talking to girls in a normal, casual way. He is going to have to fake being a teenage girl for an entire school day. Walking to school is its own education. Girls walk differently. They notice things. A cat on a wall, a friend's teeth-grinding habit, a sale sign in a window. And they talk about them constantly, easily, like breathing. Komori listens. He nods. He manages a few syllables. He is completely overwhelmed. They make it to school just in time. Komori crashes through the entrance doors behind Sachi, gasping, and classmates greet Mari warmly on all sides. He hears her name spoken with genuine warmth. She is liked, clearly liked. And that gap between the girl he thought he knew from the outside and the girl the world actually sees hits him somewhere unexpected. Attendance is called. The teacher runs through names, and Komori almost misses Mari's. He mouths yes just in time. He sits in her seat and stares at her desk and tries to understand what his life has become. 3 years of nothing, and now this. The class is loud, busy, normal, brutally normal. A boy near the window is goofing off and getting laughed at. The teacher jokes. Someone passes a note, and through all of it, Komori is sitting perfectly still in a pretty girl's uniform, wondering where the real Mari went and whether she's sitting in his body right now, surrounded by garbage bags and empty controller batteries. Then the teacher calls for a duty rep. and class ends, and everyone starts moving, and Sachi grabs Mari's arm with a grin and says they should go to the bathroom. Komori goes to the girls' bathroom and stands there while Sachi gossips, and a third girl named Kanako joins them, and he nods through all of it while internally screaming. Somehow the day ends. He gets through it. He sits at the end of the school day, genuinely exhausted in a way gaming sessions never made him, and breathes. One day down. He doesn't know how many more there are. He doesn't know where Mari is. He doesn't know anything except that he has to figure this out. After school, Sachi and another friend want Mari to come to Kichijoji to look at shoes. Komori panics and makes an excuse, something important to do, and watches them leave with relief and shame in equal measure. He has one priority, and one priority only. Find the original him. Find where Komori Isao went. Back at the apartment, Mari's home, he slips away to his room to think. The thought arrives slow, and then all at once. If he's inside Mari, then maybe Mari is inside him, sitting in his trash-filled apartment across the city, in his body, trying to figure out what happened to her. The idea of Mari, this careful, composed high school girl, waking up in his disaster of a room among the garbage bags and the gaming setup and the unwashed everything makes something in his chest drop very low. He needs to find her. Wherever his body is, she's in it. And whatever she's going through in there, it's not good. The next morning and the ones after blur together into a crash course in being a high school girl, navigating friendships, sitting through classes he doesn't recognize, smiling at the right moments, and going quiet at the right moments. He is getting better at faking it, which is somehow worse because faking it means becoming comfortable in a life that isn't his. Meanwhile, Komori's instincts keep surfacing at the worst times. The familiar posture of a man who's used to being invisible, the way his eyes track certain things, the reflexes of someone who watched this same girl from a distance for an entire year. He catches himself and corrects himself and wonders, constantly, how much time has passed and whether the swap is permanent. One afternoon, after another day of survival at school, something shifts. He goes to the convenience store, Mari's convenience store, his convenience store, and stands in front of it on the sidewalk. He knows this store from the outside in a way that feels shameful now. He knows the layout, knows which aisle she always browsed, knows where she stood when she bought her chocolate. From somewhere behind him in the store, a voice says, "Welcome." He turns and finds himself face to face with what appears to be Mari's usual self, except something is wrong with her expression. Too cautious, too careful, too watching in a way that normal customers don't watch. And then it hits Komori all the way, standing in the middle of that store in Mari's body. The person behind the counter isn't acting like a regular college student. That person is looking at this body, at Mari's face, with the kind of stunned, suppressed shock of someone who recognizes exactly what they're seeing. Mari is in his body, and she's looking right at him. Outside, Komori approaches. They face each other on the sidewalk, his own body standing across from Mari's. Two people in all the wrong containers, both of them sweating. Neither of them knows how to start. He stammers, she stares. The absurdity of the situation sits between them like a wall. He blurts out that she's been watching her. This body, Mari's body. Always, always. He says he knows she knows. He says he's inside Mari, and he needs her to know that. And what comes next in Mari's face, in his face, which is awful and disorienting, is not the reaction of someone who's confused. It's the reaction of someone who already figured it out, and has been sitting with it, and is angry. They've swapped. She knows it. He knows it. And now they're standing across from each other on a residential street in Tokyo, in each other's bodies, having the single most uncomfortable conversation two people have ever had to have. What Mari knows, what she's already put together in the time she spent trapped in his apartment, is the full picture of who Isao Komori actually is. She saw the garbage. She saw the gaming setup. She saw the untouched university paperwork. She saw the life of someone who gave up and called it waiting, and she's not going to pretend she didn't see it. What Komori knows, and has had to sit with every single day inside her body, is that Mari's life is full in a way his isn't. She has friends who actually like her. She has a family that teases her at breakfast. She has a routine that connects her to the world. He watched her from the outside for a year and thought he understood her, and standing inside her life, he's realizing he understood nothing. They don't have a plan yet. They don't know how long this will last or how to fix it. What they have is an agreement, unspoken but completely clear. Neither of them can just fall apart. They have to hold each other's lives together until something changes. And that means Komori has to keep being Mari, at school, at home, with her family, with her friends. And Mari has to keep being Komori, in that apartment, in that body, surrounded by everything she now knows about him. The days that follow are a negotiation in disguise. Komori learns the roots, the rhythms, the small performances of Mari's social life. He learns which friend gets upset over what, which teacher to watch out for, which conversations to deflect, and which ones to lean into. He is, in a deeply ironic way, finally developing social skills, just using a body that isn't his. Mari, inside Komori, does something he didn't expect. She starts cleaning. The apartment that was a monument to giving up slowly acquires clear floor space. She sits with the gaming setup and understands, piece by piece, what he actually did with his time. She doesn't romanticize it. She looks at it clearly, the way she seems to look at everything. Direct, a little sad, already moving on to what to do about it. School gets harder before it gets easier. There's a moment in class where a joke lands at the wrong time, and Komori laughs in Mari's body at something Mari wouldn't have laughed at. And Sachi notices. Just a flicker, a quick look, a slight tilt of the head. She doesn't say anything, but she noticed. The question of who Mari really is, not just what she looks like from the outside, starts pressing against Komori from every direction. He's sleeping in her room, eating her family's food, answering to her name. He knows what she looks like when she laughs because Sachi makes her laugh every day. He knows she buys the same chocolate she always bought at the convenience store, but now he sees it's because she shares it with Sachi on the walk home. He was so wrong about almost everything. She wasn't mysterious, she was just quiet, and quiet had looked like mystery from the other side of a dark street. Back in his apartment, Mari finds the game Komori was playing when their lives switched. The "You Died" screen is still up. She sits down in front of it and tries to understand what kind of person plays a game for 3 years without beating it. And somewhere in the middle of attempting to navigate the controller, something shifts in her expression. Not pity, something more like recognition. Komori gets through another week. He starts to understand Mari's handwriting by copying her homework. He starts to understand the social geometry of her friendships. Who's at the center? Who circles the edges, where Mari herself sits in all of it. She's close to Sachi, warm with a girl named Kanako, and generally liked by the class without being at the core of it. She's a little outside everything, which he understands. The real test comes when Sachi tries to have a serious conversation. She corners him, corners Mari, after school, and asks quietly if everything is okay, if something happened. She's known Mari for years, and she can tell something is different, and she's trying to give her a chance to talk. Komori has to look at this girl who is genuinely worried about his borrowed face and figure out what to say. He manages. He says he's fine, a little tired, maybe hormonal, and Sachi accepts it with the resigned, knowing look of someone who's been friends with a girl long enough to let it go when she needs to. The relief Komori feels is enormous and immediate, and then sad, because it was easy. Not because he fooled her, but because she was kind enough to not push. Meanwhile, Mari, in his apartment, has found the notebooks. Not gaming notes, old ones from years ago, before Tokyo, the kind of notebooks a kid keeps when they're still trying to figure out who they want to be. She sits with them for a long time and doesn't tell him about it, and he doesn't ask. But when they see each other outside the convenience store the next day, something has changed in the way she looks at him. Things are changing inside both of them in ways that are hard to name. Komori is waking up every morning in a life that actually functions and feeling the weight of comparison. He is learning what it costs to be present, to eat with a family, to walk with a friend, to answer to your name like you mean it. He is, without intending to, being rehabilitated. Mari is learning something different. She is learning what it looks like when someone disappears so completely that even their mother doesn't really know where they went. She's reading between the lines of that one phone call she fielded in his body, the cheerful, checking-in call from his mom, and understanding what fine sounds like when it's a wall. A moment comes where Komori, walking home in Mari's body, passes the alley where he used to follow her. He stops. He stands there in the dark and looks at the angle he used to stand at, and thinks about what he was actually doing. There's no word for it that doesn't make him worse than he thought he was. He doesn't stay long. At some point, without either of them officially deciding to, they start actually talking. Short conversations outside the store, then longer ones, then ones that go until the light changes 3 times and neither of them moves. She asks him real questions and doesn't look away when his answers are bad. He asks her things he never could have asked from the other side of a street. The swap is still unexplained. Neither of them knows why it happened. Neither of them knows if it will reverse, or when. What they know is that every day they spend in each other's lives is a day spent learning something they didn't know they needed to learn. And in the way these things sometimes go, through the most bizarre and impossible circumstances imaginable, they are becoming something to each other. It doesn't feel like a love story yet. It feels like 2 people who are genuinely afraid, being honest about it for the first time. And that might actually be more interesting than love. The families are the hardest part. Komori has been learning Mari's family from the inside. Her dad's particular silences, her brother's need to be teased, her mother's routine of quietly making sure everyone has what they need. He's been shown more warmth in these weeks than in 3 years in his own apartment, and it lands somewhere he wasn't expecting. Mari, for her part, has to manage the calls from his mother. There are more of them than she expected. His mom calls more often than the once-a-month picture Komori painted, and each call is this careful orbiting thing, asking about eating, asking about sleep, asking about friends with the specific practiced calm of a parent who already suspects the answer is bad, but doesn't want to hear it confirmed. Komori finds Mari's school notebook with her real handwriting in it. Not the clean school notes, the margin scribbles, little observations, lines that sound like poetry, but she'd never call it that. He reads one line and has to put the notebook down because he recognizes something in it that he thought only existed inside himself. She sees things the same way he does. The day Sachi finally says something real, it hits like a wall. She takes Mari's hand, takes Komori's hand in Mari's body, and says, "You've been somewhere else lately, haven't you?" Not accusing, not even asking, just naming it the way a real friend does. Komori looks at her, and for a second the thing he wants to say is the true thing, which is, yes, I've been somewhere else since birth. I just didn't know anyone could tell. They find a rhythm. It's strange and unsustainable and completely their own. He goes to her school. She exists in his apartment. They meet when they can and compare notes like two spies who've been dropped into each other's covers. She tells him something that happened in his body. He tells her something from inside hers. The information transfer is practical, but what accumulates underneath it is something else entirely. Mari starts attending Komori's university lectures, not as him, not trying to fix anything, just going because the schedule was there and she thought she might as well. She sits in the back of lecture halls that haven't seen Komori Isao in 3 years and takes notes with the calm precision she applies to everything. And she thinks about what it would have cost him, specifically, to do this. She doesn't think it was laziness. Komori finds a photograph in Mari's desk drawer. It's old, middle school maybe, and she's in it with a group of girls who aren't in any of the current photos on her walls. He doesn't ask, but he looks at the faces and wonders what that story is and why it ended. The question of whether this is permanent starts to get louder. They've been trading lives for weeks now, long enough to feel like a possibility they might have to accept. Komori tries to imagine never going back, being Mari forever, growing up in someone else's story, and finds the thought is less unbearable than he expected, which is its own kind of horror. Mari does not have the same reaction. She wants her body back. Not because she hates his. She's adapted with a competence that honestly impresses him, but because she has things she was going to do. Goals she set. A life she was building piece by piece, quietly, in the way she does everything. She doesn't tell him all of this, but he can see it. One night, late, Komori sits in Mari's room with the lights off. The stuffed animals are watching him. The room smells like her. He thinks about the year he spent following her through the dark and wonders what would have happened if he'd ever spoken to her under normal circumstances. As himself, as a man, not lurking but actually walking up and saying something. He thinks about it and decides it wouldn't have worked. He wasn't ready to be seen. And there it is. The thing he didn't know he'd been running from. Not Mari, specifically. Her, yes, but underneath her. Being seen. Being looked at by someone close enough to notice that there's not much there. The apartment and the controller and the 3 years. All of it was distance. All of it was staying far enough away that no one could see how empty it had gotten. He's crying in Mari's body in the dark, which is somehow both absurd and completely correct. The next day he goes to school and does it well. He talks to Sachi and means it. He laughs at something Kanako says, and it's a real laugh. He sits in class and actually pays attention. He doesn't know if Mari is watching from the outside, but he acts like she might be, and that turns out to be enough. What comes next, neither of them predicted. They're talking outside the store when it happens. That particular charged pause that drops into conversations when something real is about to be said. And Mari asks him why he started following her. Not angrily, just directly, the way she does everything. She wants to know. And he tells her, not the pretty version, the real one, lonely, lost, fixated on something bright in the dark, watching her because she was the only thing that felt worth getting up for, and not understanding how twisted that had gotten until he was literally inside her life seeing it from the other side. She doesn't say it's okay. She doesn't absolve him. She just listens, and when he finishes, she says, "I saw you, not from that night, before." She had noticed him. She had seen the figure trailing behind her more than once, and she knew, and she didn't know what to do with it, and she hadn't told anyone. He hadn't been invisible. He'd just been invisible to himself. Something cracks open between them right there, on that sidewalk, in each other's bodies. It's not forgiveness exactly. It's more like recognition. Two people looking at each other through the most impossible window imaginable and seeing something real on the other side. They start meeting every evening, not for information exchange anymore, just to talk. She tells him about the photograph, the middle school friends, the falling apart. He tells her about Gunma, about the first months in Tokyo when everything did look dazzling, about the exact point where he stopped trying. They talk like people who have run out of reasons to be careful. Sachi notices the change immediately. Mari is different. Warmer, more present, more like herself, but somehow also more. She corners Mari, Komori, one afternoon and says with a raised eyebrow, "Did you meet someone?" And Komori, who is living inside a 15-year-old girl's body, having an emotionally transformative experience, manages to say something like that. The possibility of reversing the swap starts to feel real, not because they found an explanation, but because both of them have started to feel the shape of what the other person's life requires, and what it would mean to step back into their own. Komori knows now what Mari's mornings cost. Mari knows now what his silences cost. Neither of them can unknow it. Then comes the day things break. Not catastrophically, not an explosion, but a seam giving way. Mari in his body doesn't show up at their usual spot. He waits. She doesn't come. He goes to his apartment building and stands outside it and counts the lights and wonders what happened inside. The next day she's there, but different, quieter, and not in the usual composed way, in the way of someone who read something they shouldn't have or saw something they weren't supposed to. She tells him she found the journal, not the old notebooks. Something newer, something recent, something that makes it absolutely clear that his feelings for her were not the clean romantic thing he presented them as. They were something darker. He doesn't deny it. He can't. It's right there in his own handwriting, and he has spent weeks living inside the person those pages were about, and there is no version of this that is okay. She looks at him, through his own face, with eyes that are already making a decision. She says she doesn't hate him. She says she understands that people get lost. She says that what she found doesn't cancel the last few weeks, the real conversations, the genuine change she saw in him. But she needs time to sit with it. She needs space. He gives it to her. He goes back to her school, puts his head down, does everything right, and gives her the space she asked for. And in the silence, something unexpected happens. He keeps going, gets up, goes to school, talks to Sachi, eats with the family, does the homework. Not for Mari, not even for himself. Just because it's the day, and this is what the day requires. Mari, in his apartment, sits at his desk and writes in one of the empty notebooks. She doesn't tell him what she writes. He doesn't ask. But she shows up at the store a few days later looking calmer, like something has been settled. And she says, "I'm not done with this, with figuring out what we are." And that has to be enough for now. The question of going back hangs over everything. Neither of them triggered the swap. It just happened. If it happened once, it can happen again. Or reverse, or not. They have no control over it, which means they have to live like it might be any day. Every morning could be the last morning in the wrong body. Every conversation could be the last one, where they're looking at each other through this particular strange glass. He starts doing something he hasn't done in 3 years. He makes a plan. Small, specific, achievable. Not a grand ambition, just a step. He's going to go back to university. Not as Mari, not because anyone told him to. Just because he's spent weeks watching what it looks like to actually show up. And he thinks he might be able to do that now. Barely, but possibly. She starts eating the chocolate. Not because she's become him. She's still precisely herself. But because she tried it once and liked it. And that's enough. Small things accumulating into something that looks almost like a life she'd choose. One morning, Komori wakes up, and for a second, just a second, he forgets. He lies there in the morning light, and there's no thought of swap or body or whose face this is. There's just morning, the sounds of the house, the smell of the room, and in that single unguarded moment before remembering, he feels something he hasn't felt in years. Okay, just okay. Then he remembers, and sits up, and puts on Mari's uniform, and goes down to a family that thinks he's someone else. But the feeling stays with him all day, like a low note under everything else. The night the swap reverses, neither of them feels it coming. They're sitting on a park bench, the convenient, crowded kind near the shopping street, and they're talking the way they always talk now, which is easily, and then there's a moment of dizziness. A lurch. Darkness. Komori wakes up in his own bed. His own terrible, still not fully cleaned bed, with the daylight coming in through curtains he recognizes and the silence of an apartment where no family moves below. His own hands. his own glasses on the nightstand, his own shape in the world. He lies there for a very long time. Then he gets up. He cleans, he showers, he puts on clothes that fit his actual body and goes out into the street and turns left toward campus, even though no one is making him and no one will know if he doesn't. He goes because he said he would, and saying you'll do something and doing it are the only two steps in a plan. Somewhere across the city, Mari wakes up in her own room. Same stuffed animals, same curtains, her own hands, her own face, herself. She sits up and checks the drawer. The photograph is still there. She picks it up and looks at it, and then puts it back, and something in the way she does it suggests a decision getting made. They find each other at the store. Of course they do. It's the only place this story ever really happened. He's coming from the direction of campus. She's coming from school. They stop in front of each other on the sidewalk, fully themselves now, and the first thing he does is take off his glasses and clean them, because he always does that when he doesn't know what to say. She looks at him. Not the version of him she's been sharing space with for weeks. The actual original. The person who used to stand outside in the dark. And whatever she sees now is something that changed, because she doesn't look away. He doesn't follow her home. He walks next to her. There's a difference, and they both know it, and neither of them says it out loud, because some things don't need to be said to be true. She buys chocolate. He buys something. Anything. Just to have a reason to stay a few more steps in the same direction. It's not fixed. None of it is fixed. He still has 3 years to account for, and a university he's only just walked back into, and a mother he needs to call with a real answer for once. She still has the photograph and whatever happened in it, and the careful way she keeps people at a distance that he now understands wasn't confidence. It was choice. But they are walking the same direction at the same time, and that, after everything, feels like the most extraordinary thing in the world. Komori is sitting alone in Mari's room, phone in hand, staring at her photo. He's already told himself the same thing 100 times, that this is his fault, that Mari is gone because of him, that wherever she is now, she didn't ask for any of this. The stuffed bear in the corner looks back at him like it knows. He whispers it out loud, to no one. Please just bring her back somehow. At school, the bathroom feels like a minefield. A girl named Momoka is showing off a new ribbon in her hair. Cute, she says, pointing right at it. And Komori, still learning the vocabulary of being a girl, calls it cute back, with just a beat too much sincerity. The whole exchange lasts 10 seconds and leaves him sweating. Being normal is so much harder when you've spent years practicing the opposite. He braces through the awkward moment and gets out of it clean. But after the other girls leave, Sachi studies him for a moment with that quiet, precise look she has. The one that says she's clocking the data without saying so yet. She knows something has been different about Yoshizaki Mari ever since that morning. She just hasn't decided what to do about it. Yori, Kakiguchi Yori, is watching from further back. She is short-haired, glasses-wearing, precise in the way that quiet people get when they've spent a long time paying close attention. She's already decided Komori's story makes 0 sense. She lays it out flatly. Yoshizaki Mari has never, not once, used the word cute in her life. And that's absolutely impossible to fake. They face each other on a quiet street after school. Komori in Mari's body, Yori standing 3 feet away with her arms crossed and the look of someone who has done the math and doesn't like the answer. She asks him to prove it. He pulls out the student ID from his bag. Komori Isao, Futaba University, born March 21st, 1991, and holds it out. It doesn't prove everything, but it proves enough. Inside Komori's apartment, which Yori has now walked into and which she describes in one flat word, filthy. She takes in the garbage bags, the gaming setup, the clear impression of a life that stopped moving. There's a key hidden in a plant. There's a layout she already memorized from the outside. She is calm in the way of someone who is furious and disciplined enough not to show it yet. She lays down the terms. She doesn't care about Komori. She makes this clear with the kind of directness that hits harder than yelling. What she cares about is Yoshizaki-san's body. If there is so much as a single mark on her skin, he's dead. She will be accompanying him at all times until the real Mari is found, and he will not act on his own. Understood? The next morning, Komori comes downstairs in Mari's body and finds the family at the breakfast table with the TV on, weather forecast murmuring in the background. There's toast, there's a school bag, there's Yori appearing out of nowhere, sitting in Komori's peripheral vision on the walk to school like a shadow that passed its final exam. She asks if he slept well. He thanks her. She says she doesn't care about him, only the body. This is going to be a complicated arrangement. Yori takes it upon herself to teach Komori how to apply makeup. She is extremely good at it, which Komori finds genuinely confusing until she says flatly that she's been thinking for a long time about what style would suit Yoshizaki-san. He is not sure how to feel about that sentence. She has been thinking about Mari's makeup the way he's been thinking about Mari from outside convenience stores, just from a completely different angle. She finishes. She tells him that until the real Yoshizaki-san is located, he must absolutely act Mari's part, or her life will fall apart. Not a request, a condition. He nods, and the school bell rings, and somewhere in there, he notices that Yori has her own very specific and long-running relationship with Mari, that she hasn't named yet, but that's radiating off every decision she makes. A pair of boys from class appear at Komori's desk and tell him he looks dazzling. He stares at them blankly. They are trying to compliment him and failing in exactly the way boys fail when they're trying to be smooth, and Komori, who has never been on the receiving end of this, finds it both deeply uncomfortable and kind of clarifying. He tells the perm-haired one to get lost. They leave. Sachi laughs. The class changes for PE. This is the moment Komori has been quietly dreading since the swap. A girl named Minami gets complimented on her underwear. Yori snaps at him not to dare look, and he squeezes his eyes shut and waits it out. And somehow, barely, through an act of extreme personal discipline, he survives the changing room. He reports back to himself that he kept his promise. The bar is underground, but he cleared it. As part of their alliance, Sachi gives Komori a gift. She saw it yesterday and thought of Mari, bought it as a token of apology for something. It's soft and pretty, and she presents it with the easy warmth of someone who's been doing kind things for this person for years. Komori says thank you and means it, and immediately drops it because his hands are still not fully calibrated to this body. The moment deflates spectacularly. Then the real chaos hits. In the changing room, the apology gift slips. And suddenly, Komori is on the floor in Mari's underwear, surrounded by girls screaming, and Yori is screaming at everyone to take her to the nurse's office and pointing at him with the focused rage of a person whose entire plan just fell off a cliff. He is taken to the nurse. He lies there, staring at the ceiling. This is the worst day so far. Yori appears in the doorway of the nurse's office. She looks at him. He looks at her. She says, "Did you see it?" She doesn't mean the ceiling. He says yes immediately, and then, sorry, she does not say it's okay, because it is not okay. But she does say she's going to Yoshizaki-san's house today to find clues. Time is running out, and Mari's life is starting to crack around the edges. And that is Komori's fault, and he is going to help fix it. They walk to Mari's house in something that isn't quite silence and isn't quite conversation. Yori asks if she can pose a question. She asks what his relationship with Mari was. Why is he so concerned? He doesn't answer right away, and the pause is its own answer. The kind that's too long and too careful to mean nothing. The apartment key is exactly where Komori said it would be, in a planter by the door. Yori steps inside, looks at the room, really looks at it, and says something is already becoming clear to her. She doesn't say what. She is building a picture from separate pieces, the way she seems to build everything, methodically, without telegraphing what she's found until she's sure. They sit across from each other in Mari's room. Yori pulls out a receipt from one of the drawers. 7-Eleven, 9 o'clock. Chocolate and soda. Nothing else. She holds it up. She says Mari always stopped at that convenience store around 9. And then she looks at him very directly and says, "And you always watched her there." She already knew. She's known this whole time. In the basket beside Mari's desk, Yori finds a photo sticker album, the kind girls keep all through high school. She flips through it and something shifts in her face. All of the photos are of Mari with Momoka in that group. Every picture. Just them. Over and over. No variation. She asks if Mari has always only hung out with that group. The question sounds neutral but lands heavy. Komori finds a receipt that tells a story. The same convenience store. The same time. The same items. Consistent across weeks and months. He holds it in Mari's hands and feels the full weight of what he was doing land on him in a new way. Because Yori is sitting right there, and she saw Mari wearing a necklace recently that she says reminds her of old days. Days she keeps a careful distance from, while clearly still feeling their pull. Yori asks, gently and precisely, if Komori has always been watching Mari from afar. Before he can answer the way he planned to, Shinji, Mari's little brother, comes bursting in through the door with something in his hands, mortified and furious. He's found something hidden in the room. Something that makes his face go full red. He is blaming this on Komori. He is blaming Komori for the existence of whatever he just found in his sister's room. The object hits the floor. Pages scatter. It's a manga. Adult content. The kind you'd expect to find hidden in a teenage boy's room. Not a teenage girl's. Komori panics. Yori stares. Shinji yells that he found it in Mari's room, demanding to know why it was there. And Komori's brain is running through every possible explanation, none of which work without revealing the entire body swap situation. This is an entirely new level of problem. Yori crouches down and picks up one of the scattered manga volumes. She looks at the cover. She looks at the bookstore seal on the spine. Then she picks up another one. Same seal. And another. Same seal. Different title. She holds them up and says, "They all have seals from the same bookstore." Her glasses catch the light. Her voice is absolutely flat. She says, eyes moving to Komori, "Let's go. Now. Over there." The same bookstore. All of them. The same place. Stamped on every volume. Yori has just found a thread. A real, physical, traceable thread that could lead from this room to wherever the real Mari went, or to whoever knew something about her, or to the last place she was fully herself before everything changed. And the look in Yori's eyes says she already knows exactly what they're going to find when they pull it.